Welcome to the update for, I guess, the month of July or the month of August. I'm not sure which way I'm doing this. End of July, beginning of August. Not a lot to show within RPG Maker itself, but I did want to talk about the sprite work that I've done. I do have sprites done for all the NPCs at this point. I also have a color palette here, and this is something I learned I think it might be interesting to talk about. So I was watching another pixel artist working on stuff, and basically what his recommendation was to take your 6 colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, which I have here, and actually let's look at one of these. So this yellow here, have 6 different, or have a limited number of gradients on each one. And so I don't just go up and down on the graph here to pick the color, but as I go lighter, I also go towards red, and as I go darker, I go towards blue ever so slightly. And apparently that helps to unify your color palette. However, this is the first time I've ever made a color palette, and really the first time I guess I've really done pixel art. And so what I discovered in this past month is this is incredibly limiting, and I don't actually like some of the colors that I have. In particular, doing browns, like each color has their own colors. Each character has their own color scheme, and this character here, she is brown. That is her color. And I really didn't have that much to work with because I had my dark orange line, basically. Whereas my black and white, since I went up to 11 colors on those, I have a gray, and then I also have a black and a white. So there's more options there. Purple was also pretty limited. I wanted a purple character, which means I couldn't go too bright in purple or it becomes pink. Yellow character was also a little bit interesting because the dark yellows don't look very good. I'm probably going to use them for dead grass in a summer or wasteland type tile set at some point, but they're not particularly great colors. So I think I'm having some issues with my palette, but we'll run with it until it stops working, and then I guess we'll tweak things, or maybe add more colors or whatever, but I'm going to try to stick with this for now. But the other thing is, and basically all the progress that I made, aside from these sprites, is in planning type stuff, literally writing on with pen on paper. I realized like I could do this in my drawing software. In fact, I did start doing that originally, and then it occurred to me that I could give my eyes a rest from just staring at a computer screen by actually just going back to pen and paper. So I've been using pen and paper for a lot of my planning, and I've been enjoying that. And kind of the weirdest, most recent thing I did was I have these 9 characters. This one's your main character. These 3 are other hunters, and then these 5 are sort of, I guess, village NPCs. And they were selected for specific gameplay purposes. Every one of them has a specific function that they play within the game world. So there is a reason to interact with these people. But I decided when I was writing that each of them was going to have their own storyline, and I'm not sure if I'll actually implement these in the game, but I think it will probably help as far as my own concept of the world. Not everything that you write makes it into the final concept, but it's probably a good idea as far as developing, a feel for your world, and so that you can be consistent between various aspects of it. So a part of that was that each of the characters was going to have an issue that they were a problem they're trying to deal with. Because of course this is an RPG, so a staple of RPGs is that you run around solving everybody else's problems. And so they have basically personality flaws and problems that they're trying to work through. And I also came up with a fear that each of them have. And this was weird because a lot of them, like this character in particular, she was just kind of a shopkeeper. Like she's the apothecary in the town. She does potions, and she's the sort of the town scientist doctor type person. And she had no personality whatsoever. And then I started going through this and actually assigning personalities to people, and because I started with this sort of negative concept, it's like I kind of had a positive impression of her before, and now she's kind of someone I don't really like. So that's interesting. So I'm sure I'll be revisiting things because you probably want to have likable characters in your game. So we'll see how that goes. But that was just kind of an interesting issue I was running into with the writing side of things. But as it stands, every character except for the player character, who's kind of a blank slate, silent protagonist at the moment. That might change, but everybody else, including these hunters, they all have their own issues, their insecurities, their things they're trying to deal with, and something that they fear, which I'm hoping to tie into the overall narrative of the game at some point. I have figured out what I guess, the final boss or villain or whatever of the game is. Um, don't really want to get into too many details now because like everything is still super early, subject to change. But that's sort of on the character side of things. That's the development that's been happening. And the other thing I've been working on is trying to figure out the planning and time structure because this is a game that's going to have a time limit, and we're sort of working on Stardew Valley logic. The game will be 4 seasons. Each season is 4 weeks of 7 days. And so that's the amount of time that the game will take place in. And now I'm trying to figure out what activities I want to have on every individual day. Maybe you can skip a couple of days because of certain events happening. It's not like there's going to be a puzzle or a fight that the player has to do on every single one of those days. In fact, I have a number of activities that take time that are just, socializing with the NPCs to gain friendship ranks or, do extra things like the smith here. You can talk to the smith. If you spend a day with a smith before you go out on a hunt, then you're going to get a bunch of, well, not a bunch of, but you'll get some bonus items that you bring with you onto that hunt because you've sort of prepared and given yourself that benefit. And so, in terms of balance and timing of how hard I can make the hunts, this is going to be a nightmare. And so I decided early on, just kind of on a whim, that I was going to have difficulty settings for this game. And I now think that that's a very good thing to do because my normal difficulty, well, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to make everything as hard as I can, including the meta time management side of things. I'm going to make all of that as hard as I possibly can for the hard difficulty to, you know, I'm not going to spend super long optimizing everything because I don't want to make the game like impossible or like frustratingly punishing in terms of how precise you have to be to solve everything. But I am going to be basically doing that, and that's going to be the hard difficulty. And then I'm going to have a normal difficulty where I basically take that and tone things way, way down. I say way, way down. I had like on my itch.io, I have a demo from back when I did the game jam for this, where I have an easy and hard mode of the game, of that one hunt that's in that demo. And the hard mode, literally, I just added 2 rodents to the map. That's all I did. And because this is a resource management game, just having more resources or more things consuming your resources just makes it way, way harder, just by the nature of the type of game that this is. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes out. And that's going to be kind of the main focus for the next month going forward, I think, is just having several weeks of content and playing it over and over, making different decisions, and trying to figure out how I want these activities that you're engaging in to interact with everything else. And I guess I can talk a little bit about why I want these, what kinds of things I want these activities to do. So, for example, if we go back here, if you become friends with the hunters, then you're going to gain stats that'll just make everything easier. So if you've played Drawed RPG or Tower of the Sorcerer, for example, this character is essentially increasing your attack stat as you become closer friends with her. This character, becoming friends with him, increases your defense stat. This character is kind of in the middle. You get a little bit of attack and defense for spending time with him. And then the NPCs will have other effects that do various things, which I guess I won't get into now because that's going to be more likely to change than anything else. But I like the concept of that. But again, that's just going to make balance really hard to do. So anyway, that's sort of some of the stuff I've been thinking about and working on with the game. I admit in the past month I did have a period where I was seriously considering just giving up on the game and doing something else. I am actually actively looking for something else to kind of do. Like this, as much as I like the idea of being a game dev, I don't think that realistically I would make a living off of something like this. I think that this would be more just of a hobby. So trying to decide what I want to do in the past. I have done ESL English teaching in the past. Don't really want to go back to that. So I've been kind of looking into other options and trying to figure that stuff out too. And so yeah, I think I'm in a better spot mentally. I'm in a pretty good spot financially. So like I saved a lot of money working in Korea and being dirt cheap and never leaving my house. Turns out you can save a lot of money doing that. So I don't need a job immediately, but that is something that's just kind of in the back of my mind. I can't just squander my savings forever. I need to start making plans there. So this might have been downgraded from a potential career path to a hobby. But at the same time, just this past week and past couple of days, especially, I've been feeling a lot more motivated again. So, I do genuinely want to make something and see where it goes. So that's yeah, that's kind of the update on that. And yeah, not a whole lot to show this time because it was mostly planning, but hopefully next month, I do think I'll do another update every month. So next month, hopefully I will actually have some gameplay sorted out. I will see you then.